He is no longer an outsider, ladies and gentlemen. Liam Jenkins has made it to the Bitter Birds. This is something I've been really looking forward to. We were chatting before the show. A bromance is quickly developing. Liam Jenkins, how are you, pal?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. How are you?
Did I lose you there? Are you there?
I'm here. I think I'm here. Hello?
Okay.
It's a smooth start.
I lost you for a second, but we're good. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So your first NFL game, your first Eagles.
Yes.
How was that experience like? I mean, this is something you've been waiting for 4 years, basically.
Yeah. It was surreal. And do you know what? I think, I'm sure we'll get into it, but because I didn't get press passes, like, I promised myself, I was like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this one as a fan. Like, it's my first NFL game. Just for one day out of 365, I'm going to be a fan again. And I'm going to put on a jersey. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to annoy every other British fan around me that's very introverted and be as loud as annoying as possible. And it was the most insane experience. And like watching all my videos back to like put into the vlog, and you can just see me like screaming and shouting. And it's like, I loved it. It was such a different experience to anything I'd ever been through before. You know, comparison to like soccer games or other sporting events I've covered, or even like the NBA in London, like this was a different beast. And while it was a little bit gutting, like you're looking down in the press area and sighing a little bit, I think just being amidst the Eagles fans and hearing those chants and how they took over what should have been a Jags home game and flipped the tables was in awe. Like you were just stood there, like you can feel the energy in every player. It was brilliant.
What was the percentage you think of Eagles fans? Was it like 75-25?
Probably. Honestly, it was so weird. Like, so I was saying on a couple of different occasions, like, I got to London, and London's like a really big place, and there's like tube stations all over. So I was trying to get into Central just to do the white girl thing where you get a Starbucks and pull your MacBook out and do work. Right, that's like how we do it. So I was going to do that.
That's how you hustle.
Exactly right. Exactly. So I was going up the escalator in this tube station, and within 7 minutes of being in London, I see a pair of Eagles jerseys come down, and I'm just thinking, this isn't even close to central London. Touristy bits and like the London Eye and all of the big things, it's going to be flooded. And no word of a lie, I saw about 4 Jags jerseys throughout the entire weekend until Sunday. Eagles fans took over London. It was hard to turn a street corner without hearing Eagles chants. There were bars that were rented out by the team. There were tailgates that rented out pubs that brought close to 2,000 fans. I was able to go and see those guys. It was just insane. Like, I know the Eagles travel well, but I think a mix of that and then the UK fans who were to finally come out of the closet, put on a jersey, but I'm proud now. We can do it. It was an amazing experience. Like, the only thing I can compare it to is when England were in the World Cup and that summer where everyone around you was on the same page. That's the only thing I can compare it to.
You know, I know you really wanted those press passes, but being a fan, being able to experience that might have actually been better.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, you know, everything happens for a reason. Maybe it wasn't my time yet, as I was saying to you before, but I think to actually be a fan and maybe get that bit out of my system first, I think I would have been a bit gutted if I go to then every game ever as just media. Like, I need to be a fan sometimes a little bit. So it was nice. Yeah,
absolutely. And we were also chatting before the show, so I thought this was really funny. So the way that football is viewed in England, it's rugby for pussies, huh?
That's a part. Well, it depends. I mean, in terms of a generic stereotype, that's what I'd say. I mean, if you're going to go to a random person in the street and they'll go, "Oh, you like American football?" and you go, "Yeah," and they'll go, "It's a rugby for pussies." Why do they wear pads? It's just rugby for pussies. They stop every 20 seconds. It's boring. It's why is it called football? They don't kick it. It's hand egg, right? It looks like an egg. It's hand egg, and it's like every year is the exact same thing. It doesn't matter where you go, what you do. There's always some smart ass that makes a comment, and you're there like, "Wow, that's the first time I've heard that in 7 minutes. That's original, good." But I guess on the flip side of that, now that the game is growing, we're seeing a lot more organic fans. Like, you could see probably one of every 32 jerseys in Wembley on Sunday. It was really encouraging to see. And now that games are being broadcast and Red Zone's being broadcast on TV, there's recap shows that are more readily available. I think the love of the game is gradually growing over here. But the people that don't watch it are always going to be hand egg, rugby for pussies, and those annoying ones.
It's kind of the same way here in America with how soccer, you guys call it football, but soccer, we're now showing the Premier League. Like for the last 5 years, like NBC Sports is showing the Premier League. The Champions League is being more prominently shown. So we're seeing that. We're seeing upgrades in the World Cup coverage. So I kind of feel like some of that influence we're seeing there in England with American football. It's like the same thing.
The only thing I don't get is that in England, it's very much a fashion statement to wear a jersey, right? So you never know. If you see someone in the street, you never know, unless it's a very niche player or a niche jersey from a while ago, if they're a genuine fan or if they're just doing it to make a fashion statement. And the amount of times you'll go, oh, you're a Titans fan. And they'll go, what? And you're okay, I'm sorry, we'll leave it. You're not a Titans fan. Just never mind.
You just like the powder blue. It looks pretty.
Exactly. But I couldn't imagine ever going to America and seeing like a Burnley shirt. I couldn't. It's the most weird thing. Whereas in England, it's almost encouraged. And you'll see people, it's the jumpers now, like crew neck sweatshirts. And they'll have like Alabama Crimson Tide or like Penn State. And you're like, there's no way if you go up to someone and go, hey, do you know that's Saquon Barkley's doing well for New York this year, right? And they'll go, who? It just won't go. But, you know, hey, if we get to a point where there are Charlton Athletic jerseys in America, give me a shout. I'll come straight over them.
There you go. So the next thing I want to get into, we kind of know a little bit because if you've read the story on the Philadelphia Eagles website, but I'll ask you here for the people that don't know, how did you become an Eagles fan and kind of what age were you?
Yeah, I was 14 years. I think I was 14. And essentially I'd wanted an Xbox for ages and all my friends were getting one and buying Call of Duty. So I was that kid begging his parents. So when I finally got one, they didn't quite want me shooting people just yet. So the only game it came with was Madden 08. And I was like, brilliant. I've never played American football. I've never watched it in my life, but I kind of have to play it, right? Yeah. So I put it in, randomly selected a team. It happened to be the Eagles. And it all kind of snowballed from there. Like I started watching like top 10 and highlight videos on my lunch break at school. And then the next year I actually watched a full season of like game highlights every week and started getting into it. And then a couple of years later, Game Pass was a thing. So I got that. And from there, it all just snowballed to where we are.
Yeah, just amazing. As we kind of lost you there at the end, though.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just playing hard to get it. I'm sorry.
You have the worst internet in the world, you said. All right. So I do want to ask you this, too. So you were 14 as an Eagles fan. So what did your friends think? Like, you're this diehard Eagles fan. Are your friends like, yo, Liam, you're kind of weird, bro. Like, you're an Eagles fan. You don't like.
You assumed I had friends to start with. That's the worst mistake. Do you know what? It was weird. I was always that kid. My fondest memories of school were that everyone was playing FIFA 09. Okay, so this was a while back. I was about 15, and Ultimate Team was a thing. And you could go online and make trades and buy all these cards and stuff. And everyone in my school was doing it. Not me. I was sat watching Madden Ultimate Team videos, and no one got it. And there were a couple people that would occasionally ask a mocking question, so I would get excited and talk, and then they'd laugh at me. So no one really cared until I brought an American football to school and then started throwing it around. And then people started to care a little bit, and then I hit a girl in the head with it, and then they cared a lot less. So it was it's a very up and down thing. But it was one of those aspects, I think, where I found it on my own, and I liked that. I liked being different, and for once, instead of being afraid of that and being bullied for it, being like, do you know what? Like, I resonate with that underdog mentality. I like that grittiness of Philadelphia. I think being able to sit with that and then live with the team and grow with it in a way was much nicer than kind of just being like everyone else and pretending to like things I don't.
Yeah, and the way that you're grinding right now, it's very impressive. Album aside, but dude, these videos that you do, these film reviews, I can appreciate it because like I used to edit stuff that kind of like that. You go really in depth with it, and I know the hours that it takes. So I can really appreciate somebody like you doing that. So for the people out there, you guys have no idea the hours it takes to do something like that. That is so professionally done. You do a great job with those.
Oh, thank you so much. Sure, I had a comment yesterday, and it was on the London vlog, and he was like, no Golden Tate video? And I was like, he signed 39 minutes ago. I've been editing this for 4 hours. I've got an Avonte Maddox thing to do and a 9-hour shift. Just give me a chance, I'll get there.
Yeah. Just give me time, please.
Literally, yeah. Like it takes a lot of time, but I love that. I think if you're putting anything else out that's not your best work, then there's no point in putting it out. Like you want it to be a reflection of you. And if I'm just trying to, grind and very visibly, run myself into the ground every day, then I want my product to do that as well. So yeah, the filming videos for me are definitely something I take a lot of pride in. So I'll go into I want to try some new things, but I think the only way up from here is buying software that has all the little funky rings where they spin around and all of the next level TV stuff. But we'll see what we can do. I've got some things in the works, so we'll see.
Being different is how you make it on YouTube. That's how you do it. Just every little subtlety, just bring it.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to try things. So even people out there, if you want to try making your own YouTube channel, do it. Go for it. So,
yeah, funny story as well. So like, I'm not sure if it's going to help the interview or not, but so my little brother's 19 years old and dropped out of college to do YouTube. And my mum at the time resented the idea and was like, "You're an idiot. Like, he doesn't understand what's going on." He now makes more money than any of us, sits in his room playing video games all day. And I'm like, do you know what? I appreciate it because now we've got two of us in the same house, both working our asses off. It's cool. So yeah, YouTube's a very lucrative platform, but one where you can definitely make it. You just got to put the time in and just have a mentality and stick to it. So yeah, fully go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were younger and 14 years old, who was your favorite player on the Eagles?
Oh, back then it was easily Shady. That was my first jersey as well. Funny story with my jerseys, I have not had a good jersey history with the Eagles. Okay, so my first three.
Did they all leave? Did they all leave the nest?
No, they did. Literally a year later. So I bought 3 jerseys. All right, I bought Claude Giroux for the Flyers because it was cool. It was orange, and I was like, sick. I like the Flyers, but I wasn't a big fan at the time. I was like, that was my fashion statement piece. Okay, my 2 Eagles ones, I got LaShawn McCoy and Nick Foles. 3 months later, I swear to you, it all went wrong. Both players ended up like exiled. And then my next jersey, okay, was Sam Bradford. I won't say any more about that. And the one I've got now, I've got a Carson Wentz alternate black jersey. So I'm hoping I've broken the spell. And third hall is the charm. But
I think you're good. I think Carson for a little while.
Fingers crossed.
I think you're all right. All right, so you talked about it. You got people pissed off at you for not talking about Golden Tate. Well, here's your opportunity to talk about it. What do you think about the trade? I'm ecstatic, man. I think this is going to help out everything.
I'm really impressed. It was a sound move. I think a lot of people are making the mistake of comparing it to Amari Cooper. It's not the same style of move. I think what the Cowboys are trying to do with a 24-year-old former first-round pick is give Dak a #1 weapon, try and build around it and get that future there. The Eagles don't need that. They lost the #2 guy. They couldn't find the speed in Shelton Gibson. They're struggling to find the underneath stuff with Aguilar, who is constantly being used on jet sweeps, and you can't direct all that attention just over the middle. Golden Tate is going to give you a guy that, while he's perennially a slot receiver, has got the versatility to move outside, or especially in levels concepts and stuff as well. He's going to expand the field. All we've heard for 4 days now is yak and yards after the catch and reception after the catch. The guy is a monster in the open field. And if you've got someone that has to be respected deep, that means the safety has to play further away. That means the corners have to respect him, which means someone like Olshan or Ertz is going to open up again. It's a move where even if he doesn't come back, his sheer presence alone is going to open up the rest of the offense. And that's what this Eagles team tries to do now. You look at Olshan last year, the way the offense changed from 2017 to 2016, it's like a completely different beast. And I can see Golden Tate having that same impact.
Yeah, because the versatility kind of hasn't been there this year. It's been all Zach Ertz. The fact that Alshon had like less than 1,000 yards last year was actually a great thing because that meant this ball was being spread around. So with Tate coming in here, I kind of look at it like this in the fourth quarter, kind of when you're trying to close out the game. The NFL right now, you're kind of going to the short passes to close games. It's kind of changing. But with Tate, the way you can do the split screens, right? So the yak ability. If you remember back the Panthers game, those 2 drives that they had, the 6 short passes of the 9 plays, those 2 drives, it only netted them 11 yards. Golden Tate's going to get you more than 11 yards. So I look 100%. At it that way. Yeah, absolutely. So I look at it that way. And then also with the way that the offensive line is struggling, you got a yak guy that you can just quickly get the ball to if you want. And he's going to win routes easily off the line because he's so quick off his get off. So I like this move, and you had a limited pool. I mean, there wasn't many options out there, and give up a third for Golden Tate. I like the move, and this is something I can even see him potentially staying too.
Yeah, I mean, it would be silly to imagine he kind of wouldn't want to, especially if this team now does get a playoff run. If the team had lost to Jacksonville, I don't think this move would have happened. But the fact they're 500, it's a close division. You now have what is near enough a complete offense with, I mean, I'm sure the offensive line is going to be a discussion anyway, but for the most part, this is going to be the best this offense has looked for a while. They're confident they can get by with a committee of running backs. And do you know what? You've got Carson Wentz completing 70% of his passes. If he has to do 1 year of Andrew Luck level absurdity, it's going to be this year. So why not embrace it? Give him a target to throw to. We know what he does well is lead receivers with his eyes and throw into those windows to allow them to kind of move into the ball instead of body catches. You see it with Aguilar. You see it with Jeffrey. Someone of Tate's speed is going to be ferocious. We saw with Matthews even. And Matthews is a traditionally labeled a possession receiver, something he battled after the game. He wasn't too happy with that label. But if you then compare that to what Golden Tate can do and the difference between them, you've got 3 very different slot receivers who give you 3 very different aspects of the game. And that's all you could ask for as a quarterback, is just different ways to move those chains.
Yeah, and I actually, Brendan from the film room that we do, he gave me a stat yesterday. The Eagles last year caught 16 touchdowns from the slot. So far this year, only 1.
Wow. See, I might steal that tomorrow if that's okay. I'll give you full credit, but I'm gonna.
You gotta give Brendan Albert the credit, not me.
I'll be sure to.
So I'll get confirmation on the stat too, just to make sure it's right. But that's what he said to me, was 16 and 1. So that is a huge disparity, obviously. Okay, so I also wanted to talk about the running back situation. They did not make a move. Are you confident that Josh Adams can be a guy that can make it work for them? I mean, obviously, he's not like a lead guy that you would want in the future, but can he work for them this year?
Do you know? I don't know.
I don't know. It's hard.
I'm sitting on this weird angle where it's confusing, but I'm not sure. It depends on how Peterson looking to use them, okay? The one thing that stands out to me, and you can have this for it, we'll do a stat trade, okay? So I've got the first down, but the slot one, you can have this one. So Wendell Smallwood last year caught 13 passes, and he was used a lot more frequently, whether we like it or not. He saw more of the ball because there were 16 games plus a postseason, right? Which is a bit more than 8 where he's being filtered in left, right, and center. He's got 15 this year and 2 touchdowns. Now, Smallwood was traditionally a back in my mind. He was a jack of all trades, master of none. He can do it all not very well. All right, now we're seeing this level of versatility. He's being used on wheel routes a lot more, used on screens. Clement, we know, can do the same. Super Bowl 52 is a prime example. That leaves Josh Adams to kind of pick up the dirt and get it down the throat. I think that is honestly the way we're looking at it. A lot of people got angry at Doug Peterson for not running the ball against Carolina in the 4th quarter. What I saw was someone that knew, hey, we're averaging under 3 yards per carry against this run defense. Let's get out on swings and screens where you're going to average around the same anyway and still make sure that clock drains, but you've got blockers ahead of you. It just opens it up a little bit more. And I can see that being the case. So instead of running it 50% of the time, we're going to see a lot more screens and trying to diversify that backfield as most you can. And if they can do that, it may just open a window for Josh Adams to keep pounding the rock and run out those late games.
Yeah, the way that they were running the ball against Carolina, it's just not a matchup suitable for them, because the way that you got Kuechly, Davis, the way that they can fly, and you run a lot to the boundary with the sweeps and the outside zone. Yeah. So it just really wasn't working. And I was okay with throwing the ball. This clock only stopped 1 time.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's it. People forget.
100%. And I think that's what we've got to look at now. There's a reason why, even when it was first being reported, is I never put a report out once regarding Le'Veon Bell, because it was, to me, it was always ridiculous. It was never going to happen. I mean, there's one source I spoke to about must be 2 or 3 weeks ago now that said not even Le'Veon Bell knows what Le'Veon Bell is doing. All right, so it got to a point where it's like, no one knew. It was people just trying to drum up this thing. Yes, the running game was struggling, but you look at the other issues where the Eagles have given up the 2nd most quarterback hits in the league. That's correspondingly not going to help your run game if they can't even protect the quarterback who's coming off an ACL tear. Surely that's a priority, right? So you're without a Jay Ajayi. Darren Sproles is still sidelined. In a likely scenario, you're not going to be looking to those guys. The fact is they've got over 800 rushing yards this season, which is, I believe, 12th in the league. at the minute off the top of my head, which all things considered is pretty good. Like the way this running back position has been chastised over the last 2 to 3 weeks, you'd assume it was getting a yard per carry, fumbling left, right, and center, and be bottom of the league. But it's not. They're moving the chains. They're doing the job well. And the more you get those younger guys, they all have under 3 years experience in the league. 2 of them under 1, or like Clement 1, and then obviously Adams as a rookie. It's going to take time. Just let them find their feet with a strong offensive line ahead of them and see what happens in the closing stages of the season.
Yeah, and that's something that people are confusing too. It's like the pass protection has been bad, but they're still getting the push in the run game. The holes are there. So that's something that's like kind of being misinterpreted by some people. The O-line's playing well in the run game, just not pass protection.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. So the film room that I thought was really good stuff was the Jalen Mills one. And I love that stuff. And I have some of the similar thoughts. So Jalen Mills, everybody hates the guy, but is it really all his fault?
No, a lot of it's scheme because they know that Jalen Mills... The thing is with Jalen Mills, okay, is that you've got 2 very different types of player, and you're going to be taking a risk either way. So we knew what the limits were coming out of college, the 7th-round pick. If it wasn't for McKelvin going down against the Browns, we may not even be having this discussion, which is something worth noting. You look at some of the other players that have come and gone. There was, I believe, I can never remember his name, 6th round, Blake Countess, 6th-round pick. Who was meant to be a strong, versatile DB, never saw the health there. So you, Jalen Mills, we know what his limits are. Athletes and receivers. So if you put him in press coverage, we know he's aggressive. So if you launch out aggression at the line, you get beaten. He's not recovering 10 yards down the field. If you line him up in off coverage and he bites on a double move, it's the same thing. You've got to work out where he's best. And there is a reason why he always ends up near the top of the team in tackles in the last 3 years, because they would rather have him defending the routes underneath. And that's the best place for him. I think at times now when we're playing this cover 3 sort of scenario, or it's just Maddox over the top, he's responsible for 50% of the field. It's not like he's being burnt. It's that he's having to bail off his receiver, knowing that Maddox is going to pick him up. It's knowing that he's going to bail or come underneath, or that there's a running back to watch out for. He's aggressive. He does what he does well. He's never going to be an elite cornerback that's going to get incredible amounts of money in 5-year contracts. But for what he brings to the table, I think that, yes, there are some problems. Yes, there are some fundamental issues that may not ever get figured out. But a lot of it this year has been schematic because they're just trying to pull him away and give him a chance to make a play on the ball, which inside the red zone, he does quite a lot.
Yeah, red zone is phenomenal. He's only allowed 1 touchdown this year.
Exactly.
People don't know that. People don't know that. They don't know that. That's okay. That's okay. All right. So let's kind of talk about the second half of the season now. They come out with Dallas. What are you thinking right now? Do you think that Week 17 game against Washington, could that be for the NFC East?
The way you've got to look at it is that you have got 6 divisional games in your final 8. And
you got 2 of them against Washington.
Exactly. It's tough. And the Eagles did a great thing, winning on the road in Jacksonville. They're coming to a bye. They're on a massive high. Season saved. Everything's la-di-da. You've got to come out and punch against Dallas now. Like, this is opportunities. We know the NFC East is weak. All we've seen all year long is Dak Prescott being mocked. All we've seen all year long is the Eli Manning face becoming an emoji. All we've seen all year long is Washington. Their run defense is pretty damn good. Like, Washington are the one to watch out for. And if you drop those 2 games, I don't think at this point anyone's worried about Dallas or New York. Those should be 4 wins. If they're not 4 wins, that's a problem. But if you go into Washington and you drop 1, that Week 17 game is going to be absolutely crucial.
Yeah. It could be for the division. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, because there's 2 games coming up that are going to be extremely difficult at New Orleans and at the Rams. I'm hoping they can steal one of those. I don't know if they're going to, though.
It's tricky. I mean, it depends. I mean, the Eagles saw the Rams last year. We all know how that went, unfortunately. I'm hoping the same will happen again.
Let's hope it's another win, but, like, we don't lose another quarterback.
Yeah, and the way you've got to look at it is that Jared Goff under pressure is a very different quarterback to how he is when he's got all the time in the world. And I think the Rams and the Eagles are 2 teams built in a very similar fashion. They build through the trenches. They then work outwards. You see that with the drafting of their wide receivers a little bit lower than normally. You see it with the way they've built their defense, and they were more than happy to spend the extra money knowing they've got the trenches fortified this year. So the Rams are playing incredible football. There's a reason why their record is what it is. There's no one doubting that. But the Eagles were the one team last year that from the minute that flag dropped, gave them everything they had. And it was like, you could tell, hang on a minute, this is like a clash of titans right now.
That came out to the quarters.
It was incredible. In my opinion, one of the games of the year. Like, it had everything you could want as a neutral fan, apart from obviously the heartbreaking injury. But the character of both teams was tested, and I think they can't underestimate each other. If the Rams, let's say, I mean, God forbid, but if the Rams are still unbeaten by the time they get to this point, by the time they meet the Eagles, they might think, if the Eagles drop a game to the Saints, they go, right, well, you know, they're not really a threat. We can take this one off because we've got divisional games to play. And if they get complacent, the Eagles will come right back down their throats and sting. And I'd always like to get a loss out of the way early. If you're a team like the Chiefs or the Rams and you're on cloud 9, you don't want to get to the playoffs not experiencing a loss and thinking, hang on, this could crumble like that. You want to get the loss out of the way, know you can come back from it and push on. So that's something to watch for, I would say.
That's kind of where my thought process is right now. That New Orleans game, I think, is going to be extremely difficult. Don't think that's going to happen. But the complacency part, it's week 15, they might even have stuff wrapped up by then. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if they beat the Saints this Sunday. So that could be something to look for. The Rams really not playing for much. Eagles go in there and steal a win. So that's what I'm looking for. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So what do you think overall? Kind of final question here before we depart. What is the final Eagles record going to be? What do you think?
Oh God, now we're talking. It's tricky. I think. I mean, all right. I'm going to say they'll draw one.
It's tricky because, like, I feel like if they lose both to the Saints and the Rams, it's going to be hard to get to 10-6. But that's what I was working out. But I can see them dropping. I can see them. It's either 10-6 or 9-7.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I think they'll drop one to the Redskins. It won't be week 17. I think the first game play in Washington will be very close because, I mean, let's be honest, the times I played Washington before, there's always been some outlying factor. Like, if you look back to 2016 and they got absolutely obliterated in the run against Washington, and then you've got Kirk Cousins doing Kirk Cousins things, and then you've got the whole cornerback thing. It's tricky. There's always something about Washington that no one ever gets them credit for. So I can honestly see them dropping one game to Washington, maybe dropping the Saints. If they win, I'm going to say 9-7. And they'll sneak in with a win in week 17.
That's the realistic one, is 9-7. I'm just going bold because I'm being biased, I guess.
That's the best way to be, though, right? I mean, I remember, I predicted the Eagles to be, I think it was 12-4 last year, and everyone mocked me. I've got a group chat of just friends who actually like the NFL, which is a rarity.
I would have mocked you. I think I said 9-7. So. But I did have them winning the NFC East at 9-7.
There you go. It's a little cheat card in the end. Just slipping it in.
It wasn't a good division, so I was like, in the NFC East. I didn't say they were going to win the division until they got Darby, though. So I was really like down on the team. I was down on Doug Peterson, down on everything. So to say 12-4, that's bold, that's ballsy, and it was right.
See, now we've switched it, and now I'm like,
There you go. All right, so final thoughts before we depart? You got anything?
Keep doing what you guys are doing at Philly Influencer and Bitter Bird. Massive thank you for watching this. It's really cool. I was saying to Adrian before that we kind of started coming up at the same time to actually finally talk to one another and be on the show. It's really cool. So make sure you're checking out his content. He's doing some great bits over there. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, oh man, dude, I completely forgot to promote your Philly Sports Network website.
I'm not even bitter. I'm not even mad.
So go to phillysportsnetwork.com. Check out the stuff. Yeah, like Liam was saying, we kind of started up similar times, Philly Influencer and Philly Sports Network. I joined Philly Influencer about 2 years ago. So these two blogs kind of leading the city right now in Philly. We're getting it. We're getting after it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, all right. So before I depart, my final thought, I'm just going to, a quick little story. And I told Liam this story before we came on. So I used to have a friend from England. He came over when he was in 8th, 9th grade. He became a Flyers fan. He didn't really like the other sports. He became a Flyers fan. But the funny thing that happened to him, he came over with an English accent. When he went back to England, he went back with an American accent. So if Liam ever comes to Philadelphia to be an Eagles reporter, I can't wait to see that accent just disappear.
I think it's still okay. This is my one takeaway as well on that note. Like, I would class myself. I'm a very working class guy. Like, I'm not a well-spoken British guy. I'm not enunciating my consonants. I'm like, oh, that sort of guy. And the minute the American Eagle fans came over and I started talking to them quite a lot, I realised I sounded really posh in comparison. And I was like, I'm just talking normally. But all of a sudden, because there's loads of like Americans around me, I'm sounding, hello, one like a Brit. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to change. This is disgusting. So, I mean, that's my biggest fear, going to America and just sounding ridiculously posh to everyone. So I'm going to try and slang it up a little bit.
I'll tell you what, though, that the ladies probably love it. Although I think you have a girlfriend, right?
No, let's not get into my love life.
I'm sorry. I thought you had a girl.
No, the one that got away, unfortunately. It's one of those stories. So, I'll come to Philly to get a green card wife.
There we go. All right. We'll end it on that note. That was Liam Jenkins. I am Adrian Fedke. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, because I know a couple of you guys requested this. He's the best right now when it comes to the film study. Go check him out. Philly Sports Network on YouTube. I am Adrian Fedke. This was awesome. Take care, guys.